The Xeno series might be my favourite series, but that's not to say all the games in the series are stellar masterpieces. In fact, out of the 6 current main series games, there are only 2 games that I think are truly legendary. The rest of the series consists of games with major flaws that can really hinder a non-fan's experience with the series. Flaws such as dodgy graphics, annoying bosses, and confusing game design. The following 3 games, in my opinion, are the worst offenders of these. Let's start with the black sheep of the Xeno series. The main reason why this game is here can be summed up with this.
Mystic powers! Grant me a miracle!
But bad voice acting is just one of the problems plaguing this game. For some reason, the staff at Monolith thought the game needed a realistic art style, even though the first 2 games had used a very much anime art style, the result of which yielded some weird character designs. Other problems included battles taking a long time to load, so you can literally see every character get loaded in one after another. Everyone having access to the same skill tree, taken away from any sort of unique character traits, and several weird choreographed scenes that make little to no sense. The game also had a weird soundtrack in my opinion. While Yuki Kagura delivered amazing soundtracks for the cutscenes, Shinji Hoseo, I think that's how you pronounce it, his gameplay music in my opinion did not fit well with the series' music style, going for a very electronic sounding music over the orchestrations that the rest of the series is renowned for. Overall, Xenosaga 2 was a weak entry for this in the series in my opinion. However, it is not the worst game. A great story and character development as well as battle mechanics that I felt were an improvement from episode 1 helps give the game a number 3 spot on my list. Now, before you burn me at the stake for putting episode 1 below episode 2 as the worst game in the series, I believe both these games are relatively equal in quality. However, in my honest opinion, I believe Xenosaga 2 is ever so slightly a better game. While Xenosaga 1 has better voice acting and an art style, I can't get past some of the gameplay choices in this game. I respect that this was Monolith's first game after leaving Square, so they were probably very new at developing a whole game from scratch. The game does have some pretty big positives going for it, such as a full orchestrated soundtrack by the London Philharmonic Orchestra. But for goodness sakes, could they have made more than one battle theme? Having listened to the same music over and over again was torture. Going on the topic of story, while if you thought Xenosaga 2 had a confusing plot, wait till you play Xenosaga 1 and try to follow some of the story elements that game brings up. I even watched the anime adaptation they made of this game, and I still didn't understand half the stuff that was going on. And finally, I saved the best for last, and that is the cheating enemies. While I already have a problem with the battle system promoting the repetitive use of the same attacks, the last thing I need are the enemies that override the game mechanics so that they can attack before my characters. And this culminates in one of the worst boss fights ever. And if you thought Lorithia from Xenoblade Chronicles was bad, wait till you verse Tiamat. What the hell does reacting to your consciousness even mean? And finally, the worst Xeno game is... It shouldn't be a surprise after my last video, so I'll make this quick. I personally believe Xenoblade Chronicles X is the worst Xeno game, which is kind of weird because I personally think it's a better game than the other 2 games on this list. However, as I have said before, when comparing it as a Xeno game, the lack of a deep story and boring characters makes this game in my opinion the worst in the series. The game also has its own set of problems, like being the only game not to have an experience sharing feature, and the fact that the levels of the enemies are all over the place, making progression difficult. If anyone is interested for a good game on the Wii U, this is a great game to play. However, for those looking for a good Xeno game, this is probably the worst one in the series to start with. Now with the 3 worst games out of the way, it's time to talk about the 3 best games in the series, which I'll do in the next video.